Hello, everybody. Welcome to our new webinar from AB Tasty. This is the first in our virtual experience summit, and we're really pleased to be joined by our partners, Rio and Redoute, who are going to be talking about the redesign of their site and how testing and experimentation played their part. So this is very much an ongoing project for Redoute in the UK, and what we're going to try and do is focus on the innovative approach that Rio and Redoute took to testing and experimentation and how it has led to significant improvements in the customer experience and conversion, and what learnings Hayley and Laura have gained. For those who don't know AB Tasty, we build experiences designed to adapt to ever-changing customer expectations. So we help you better understand how to develop a buying experience that keeps your customers coming back for more through experimentation, through personalization, through optimization, feature management, search, and product recommendation. So we're going to talk about some of those different features today and how Rio used it to help Redoute navigate a website design. So without further ado, Hayley and Laura, do you want to introduce yourselves and tell everybody a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, I'll go first, Laura. So I'm Hayley. I'm one of the optimization consultants here at Rio, and then obviously work with Laura at Redoute. So I'll just pass on to her.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Laura. I'm the UX manager at Redoute, and I look after the customer shopping experience and try to make it as good as possible for them to make them stay.
Right then, so what we're going to take you through today is a bit about sort of how we work together with Redoute, some goals and challenges throughout the A/B testing roadmap, performance to date, so looking at the current year that we're working in and the performance so far, and then just a bit about how A/B Tasty have allowed Redoute to test at pace, so all the different features that we use across A/B Tasty on the Redoute website. We're then just going to run through some of the tests that we've launched. So this is looking at two key areas. So product discovery. So this is looking at sort of search and navigation. How do users actually get to a PDP? And then looking at the product page. So what testing have we done there? And what additional testing are we going to go on to do? And then just what's next. So more PDP testing because we've got a big redesign coming up. So just anything we can do there to just inform that design. And then in terms of the search and navigation, what we might do moving forward, but just more around what's next, really. So just the process. I'll hand over to Laura on this one.
Yeah, sure. So I think we've got there now, haven't we, Hayley? We've kind of fine-tuned it, and we're working really well together. So we collaborate together a lot and really closely. So we have a lot of weekly calls, a lot of workshops, and the aim is to kind of have like a data-driven design. And we kind of take advantage of that by utilizing a suite of UX tools, which I'm really fortunate to be able to have. So we kind of obviously know what's happening on site, where the opportunity is, where we're losing our customers through Adobe, GA, the standard tools. And then we also have session replay, which is amazing and allows us to better understand why we're losing customers. But what's really important is the why, I imagine. Because we have a really good shopping tool which allows us to get customers to do shopping tasks online. So if we think there's an issue from the what's happening, we're losing customers on the PDP, we can then ask them to go shop in the same way that we see we're losing customers and understand why we're losing them and get some verbal feedback. And this helps us kind of create and design a new test variant. And the hope is that when we test that, we'll get some small wins, but it may be that we have to kind of keep running a new iteration of it once we've got the results of the first test back. And sometimes we get it right first time, but often we have to kind of keep doing iterations of it until we get the best results we can from that. And then the next step is, sharing that with our development team in France and hoping that we can get that design, hard coded into the site. And we do have the challenges, like many other businesses, where we struggle to get these wins in quick enough. And how we've kind of reshaped the way we do the process is we look at what's coming on the roadmap from France, which is where our development team is, and kind of foresee all the projects coming in and test ahead of those. So that's another way that we try to improve efficiencies in our process.
Perfect. Thanks, Laura. And then just onto goals, really. So I'll hand this over back to you. Obviously, we worked together on this, but I think it's probably better coming from yourself.
Yeah, sure. So obviously, as the call suggests, we have redesigned the site, and it's quite radical. It's not the typical, I'd say, safe design that we had before. It's quite bold, and the hope is that we kind of target, a customer of today, and it's not so catalogue. So it is really out there and really bold, and overall customers are really enjoying it. However, we have started to see that there are some issues potentially with the navigation and search. So we want to understand if there's any struggles post the rebrand. So it's kind of like a little bit of an autopsy. I don't like that word, but a bit of an autopsy of the new design. So that's the one area that we want to focus on post the big redesign. And also PDP. So we want to make sure that, most customers are coming into the product description page now with the traditional homepage entry point is gone. And we want to give customers a really good shopping experience. And we know that we have a lot of struggle on that page. So that's another reason why that area has been focused and prioritized on. And overall, I think we want to, we are a business, we want to improve ROI on the paid channels. It is getting bigger and bigger, and it's obviously costing the business more money. So we want to try and improve the return on investment for those channels as well. So we split the testing into post redesign, understanding the navigation and the search to make sure that customers can still navigate well around the site, and also to look at the biggest area of opportunity for us, which is PDP bounce rate and helping customers stay on site longer. So they're the two areas of focus for us.
Perfect. Thank you. Oh, just skip back there. So just looking at the Redoute performance so far. So this is just a snapshot at the end of 22 and the start of 23. So over the last 12 months with Redoute, we've launched around 48 tests. So we do have a good sort of velocity in terms of the tests that we launch each month. So as Laura mentioned on the previous slide, so this is a combination of PDP, homepage navigation. We're also looking at basket. It's not really a key focus area at the moment, but something that we work through. So yeah, a big number there in terms of the amount of tests launched. And then in terms of the average, this works out to around 4 tests a month. Obviously, we don't do any testing during key campaign events and Black Friday. So we do have sort of a down period there, but on average, it's around 3 to 4 tests a month. And in terms of the ROI, we've got great ROI with Redoute. So in terms of their increase in conversion, revenue, so we can show that through optimization of the current site, we can definitely grow these numbers here.
Definitely.
So how does A/B Tasty come into this? So obviously A/B Tasty is the tool that we use on the Redoute site. So it's got lots of different features that we use on the Redoute site when we're building the campaigns. So we've got A/B test, split, MVT, content campaigns. We've got some great reportings as well, so we can segment actually in the tool, which definitely helps, obviously, with the mobile and desktop split being so different on Redoute. I don't know, John, if you want to bring anything else up there in terms of the features that we use.
Well, I know that Hayley and Nora are going to talk a little bit more in detail about the specific things that they're using from A/B Tasty, but I just wanted to give everybody that's watching the webinar as well a different sense of the different areas of A/B Tasty and how it can impact different kind of teams as well. It's not just marketing teams every single time. So, within marketing teams, we've got a lot of low code and no code areas where you've got A/B tests, where you've got multivariate tests, where you've got audience managers and so on, personalizations and widgets and all sorts of things, which Hayley's going to talk about in time. You've got different content campaigns, and of course, you've got all your reporting from there. What we also do is what's called server-side testing, which actually involves coding, and it's more for product teams where you can do feature rollouts, you can do feature flags, you can do content campaigns, and of course, different tests within that. And then something else for people to speak about, because again, we're going to look at this a little bit later in the presentation, I think, in terms of search results is A/B testing can also help you when it comes to personalized recommendations, when it comes to search, when it comes to kind of algorithms and testing on that as well. So Hayley, I'll let you explain in a little bit more detail exactly what you use from A/B testing.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, because I think that sort of fourth row down there is stuff that we'll probably be moving on to in the future. So the merchandising personalization is definitely something that we want to do with Redoute, but at the moment we need to get the foundations right for the since the redesign. So definitely an area that we can tap into in the future, but not something that we're working on currently.
Yeah.
In terms of how we sort of roll tests out for Redoute, so we don't often use the visual editor. We do code implementation, and that's built into the site. So we try and stay away from the visual editor just in terms of QA testing and dev builds. It just seems to work better with Redoute in terms of us because of the amount of tests that we are actually running at one time. So yeah, it just allows us to scale it up a lot better. So that's the reason we do the code inside a bit rather than visual editor. But I think these features are great if you are making small changes, sort of banner changes, maybe CTA colors. We would probably use a visual editor in that way. But at the moment, we're sort of staying in that sort of code area.
And I think that's another good thing to point out as well, like the changes, like with the banners and things. A lot of businesses, they might not be performing where they need to be against target, so they have to do a lot of knee-jerk reactions to campaigns and things like that. And it's just the flexibility that you don't need a release. You can just go on A/B Tasty and quickly edit something really quickly. So it allows you to be really responsive. So it's really helpful.
Yeah, definitely. So now we're just going to move on to some of the tests that we have done with Redoute. So the first section is just around that search and navigation. So I'll leave Laura to go into detail, but this is since the redesign and sort of the friction that we've saw since the updated site.
Yeah, fab. Thank you, Hayley. So yeah, on the back of lots of shopping tasks that we've assigned customers post the rebrand to make sure they can get our best-selling products, so they're still easily found on the website. We did lots and lots of tasks, but the key takeout that we had on the back of it was that on mobile, not so much on desktop, but on mobile, customers found that the navigation, the burger nav in the top left corner, was quite subtle, and actually the quick links were quite prominent on the page. So a lot of customers were asking, is that your navigation, or is that your navigation? So there's a bit of confusion around that. And obviously, if they just use the quick links, so these are just like bridges into deeper categories, they're probably missing out on a lot of our category range. So we wanted to do some testing around that. And also we know that search is super important for customers. Google is a search engine, and more people are comfortable using that as a way to shop. So we wanted to make sure that stayed prominent throughout the shopping experience as well. And on the back of this on the back of the rebrand, we did see a higher interaction with search, which also kind of marries up with what we've seen with customers not being able to find the categories as well. So maybe they're looking for something that's not in the quick link option, but it's in the main menu option. And maybe they're using search to try and get to that part of the site. So yeah, so that kind of is the insights we've had on the back of that.
Yeah, perfect. Right, so yeah, this led on to quite a few testing around how do we get users into category content, into PDPs. So yeah, the first one that obviously Laura's just explained there as well as the reason why. So we quite a simple test, but we literally just removed the header links from the homepage and throughout the site. So this was done across desktop and mobile. So this was to see, can we remove that confusion and can we get users into PLPs, into PDPs by just using that more traditional mobile navigation. You can see here, so a slight uplift in PLP views of 0.25% and also an uplift in transactions. But in terms of that menu interaction, it shows that we're shifting users into that menu and then removing that confusion. So you can see their menu interaction up 12%. So this isn't sort of the last test we're doing on navigation. It's leading on to what can we do in navigation to make that journey a lot smoother for the user. So it just helps just build this picture as to what is happening within the navigation currently.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to add there, Laura, on that one?
No, that's it. And I think also, like in some scenarios when we have the quick links, as you can see embedded further down the page, there is sometimes a bit of, we're repeating the same links as above in some scenarios sometimes. And I think our hope is that these quick links will be a bit more inspiring, a bit more, trend driven to help customers shop. But it's not, I think that's the confusing part for customers, is they're not necessarily sure what they're doing there. So yeah, that's it. It was a good test.
Yeah, so I think this is Laura's favourite one in terms of the group of tests, isn't it? Again, so looking at the confusion with users, not being able to find categories, subcategories, we wanted to obviously help them as much as we can. So when you open the navigation on desktop and mobile, it's a big flyout. On mobile, you've taken up the whole screen. So you've left them on this page and they can't find what they're looking for. So we've simply added the search at the top of the menu. So if they're scrolling through, they can't see what they're looking for, they can easily enter into that search and then get through to a PLP or PDP. This one was a big win. So in terms of search submits, it was up 3.7%, reaching 99% statistical significance, and uplifting users reaching the search lister page, uplifting actually the menu interaction, so actually getting users to interact with it once they've opened it. Again, a slight uplift in transactions, but in terms of overall revenue, this was up 2.6%. So when we look at the actual figures in this, it's a big number in terms of the actual incremental revenue uplift there. So yeah, a nice one, and one that we're definitely going to try and roll out into the new design.
Yeah, and I think also on the back of this one as well, Hayley, like it is kind of like a mega list. There's no real dividers between what's fashion and what's home, so it's a little overwhelming. It's not performed necessarily really poorly or anything like that, but when you actually ask customers to find something, there is no key difference between home and fashion, for example. So just having these bolder titles to split out fashion and homes has been helpful. But as a result, we see people clicking on those titles. So once you launch a test, you'll then start to see customers do something that you haven't thought about, and then think, oh, actually, yeah, we need to also pick up this. So it's like constant. So yeah, this test, when we launched it, we did get concerned that the links, they look more like links when they're bold. So now we're looking at another design and how to do it to kind of give them, a good title at the top. So
yeah. So I think this one just goes into more detail on that one. So the one Laura just mentioned there, because I think in the search you're actually seeing what we've rolled out to the site now, and it's definitely a lot better. So again, removing that friction, make the user, it's there for the user. When we're removing that sort of effort, we're splitting it down easily, because I think on the left, you can see there, it's just a long list. You've got home, you've got top offers. You then go into fashion categories, but really they're so far down, you're not really looking for women's, men's, kids, whereas probably you want them higher on the page. You'll just see where fashion and footwear might be. So yeah, it's a simple test, like Laura said, but through some of the other testing, we realised that users weren't able to find these categories, or just to recognise that they were in some sort of order. So yeah, with this one, in terms of interactions, up 1.5%. So once they've actually opened that menu, we've actually increased the amount of users that are actually interacting with it. So great number there in terms of the uplift. And again, transactions up on this one. And then PRP views up slightly as well, all reaching really nice, like high significance within A/B Tasty. So it just shows that the testing we're doing is credible in terms of the uplifts as well.
And I think it's also about, these aren't necessarily big blocking issues. And sometimes everybody goes straight for the big blocking issues or big errors. And, they are important to fix. But this is it's more like user struggle. Like it took them longer than it should have to find a category. And I think if on a shopping experience, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 small struggles, they equate to the same size as like a big struggle or a big blocking error. So it's important that the small things get fixed too, and just help customers shop. We want them to be able to shop easily as well. So it's a nice thing to do, to look at all these things as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think that leads us on to the last sort of test within this sort of cluster of testing that we've done. So again, we were toying with whether to actually include it, just because it is very small. It's a small test, but I think we just wanted to highlight that you should focus on these areas as well because you have such big wins. So since the redesign, you can see there on that left-hand image, you've got the grey search bar against that white background. In terms of visibility, as you're moving through the site, it's not clear that you've got search above the page, especially when you're looking on a PDP or a PLP, or you've got category banners and content. So it's not really obvious and front and center for the user. So simply just add in that outline to the search across all pages. I think it was more prominent across the homepage and PLPs as you're moving through. But just by adding that outline, you can see there on the left-hand side, search interaction up 8%, PLP page views up 3%, and the revenue and transactional figure was massive in terms of the revenue uplift, just because we know the more users search, the higher their conversion is. So yeah, a big uplift in transaction of 5% there. And again, this was tested across desktop and mobile, and it's definitely something we'll just get into the site. But I think it's always good to test because you've got that data to show why.
Yeah, why you need it and prioritize it. And it is such a simple thing. It's just a little outline. So it's good to show the really quick tests you can do.
Yeah. So yeah, I think all of the tests that we've just gone through is just sort of giving us a bigger picture in terms of what are the user struggles within the search and navigation, to just try and for us to sort of gain insight and then go on to test more, maybe create different designs for the navigation, the search, to figure out what is the best solution for the user and how do we get them into that content a lot quicker. So yeah, this is just try and gain additional insight in order to inform future tests as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think we're on to product page next, which is the next sort of focus and one that is a bigger project as well moving forward.
Yeah, so we've got planned in Q4 this year with the development team in France to do a new PDP page. And this is just illustrating, sorry, it's not very clear on here, but this is just showing on a session replay tool, we use Glassbox, all the customers who come into the website, what their first entry pages and second step, third step, etc. And I think this just illustrates, years ago, it would have always been homepage at the top. That's where customers came in. It's not that traditional method anymore. And PDP is the king page, I call it. It has the highest entry point. It has the highest bounce rate. So you can see the red is of all the people who enter, who leave the page without continuing on the site. So it's got the highest exit. It's also, to most businesses, the most expensive channel as well. So it is the most important page, and it is a page that everybody, should be focusing on. And because of that, we've planned in Q4 to have a new product page built, which is why ahead of that, Hayley and I are doing this regressive testing on different parts of the page to ensure we've got like a future-proof and really good data-driven page designed. So that's what the hope is.
Yeah.
So this is just some more session insights as well of how customers use these pages. So I think the key thing is that we note here is that desktop and mobile, they have totally different shopping experiences. There's more intent on desktop. Everybody kind of knows that because they're sat at a computer committed to shopping. However, I think this also illustrates, so you can see in pink, this is the usage of all the elements of the PDP page. And in pink is the usage by desktop, and in blue is by mobile. So it's always pretty much nearly double in some scenarios. The engagement is nearly double, and it also helps with the conversion rate. So we know if customers are engaged with the page and they're looking at customer reviews, they're looking at customer photos, and they're really engaged with the content on the page, they're more likely to add to basket or at least look at other products across your website. And when we asked customers to give feedback, they all said the page is too long. They didn't notice some really good, parts of the page at the bottom, like customer reviews, etc. And the exposure rate on our site is only 0.6%. So of customers who get that in their phone view is only 0.6%, and it's about 7 or 8 scrolls to this part. So the objective is to increase engagement on all key parts of the page in a hope to also reduce bounce rate, but increase page views across the website and try get the conversion rate a little bit better than it is on mobile. It obviously never be as good as desktop, but we hope that we can get it better than it is.
Yeah, definitely. Perfect. And then again, I think this is from some of the user insights that Laura and the team do as well, but it just helps to sort of guide what testing we're doing as well. So I think this was one of the feedback from one of the users around don't hide the add to basket button. There's too much advertising in the wrong place. Product description was disconnected, which we know that it's very far down on the page. And the page layout is quite cluttered. So we're just trying to look at sections within this site and how do we improve the key elements. So yeah, you'll see within this testing, we're looking at add to basket, delivery messaging, and then that similar product. So how do we get users into other PDPs if this one isn't right for them? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you want me to go through this one, Laura?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So one of the testing we've done on mobile is sticky add to bag. Again, quite a simple one, but for Redoute, I think it was definitely needed just because of how long their page is currently. So how do we get users to actually add to basket when they've found maybe the right product information for them, they've found their size, they've found the exact color that they might like. So yeah, this just showed when the in-page add to basket was out of view. So it popped up from the bottom there. We actually tested 2 variations here. So a black CTA was variation 1. And then variation 2 was sort of this Google Blue, which we wanted to try out just to look at that difference in colour. But you can see here, variation 2, which was that blue CTA, was the big winner. So plus 2% in add to bag for V1, which was the black. And then 3.5% for add to bag, which was that V2. And reached high significance across both. But it definitely seemed to be that blue, brighter CTA is something that users were more inclined to interact with. So I think this is one we're going to be rolling out to the site, isn't it, Laura? Just because of, yeah, currently how long the long PDP is at the moment. So yeah, something we're going to be getting into the site.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that we've requested a priority to get this live as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. And then another one. So again, we know how important returns, delivery information is to the user. Again, it could be simple as not adding to basket, jumping up, bouncing off the page if you haven't got that information front and center for them. So currently, so on the Redoute site, you've got these, so you can see on the left there, the grey sort of blocks. They only appear once you select size. So if the user hasn't actually interacted with the size, they haven't selected, they never see the free messaging, the home delivery, or the different USPs that they've got. So we wanted to bring this, obviously, increase the prominence of this further in the journey before they've actually interacted with the size. So variation 1 was just to show the current design, but show that as they land on the page. So don't ask them to interact with size before showing it them. So that was variation 1, which you're seeing on the left there. And then variation 2 was to, again, show this before they interact with size or any other elements in the page, and just try and present that in a little bit more of a digestible sort of layout there, and what we'd probably see more naturally across other sites as well. So just simple icons, simple messaging, which again helps just increase that add to basket there. So yeah, as you'd expect, that variation 2 on the right hand side was the winner. So plus just under 5% uplift in add to bag. And then we always look at, obviously, how does that affect then the progression through the site? So 15% uplift in actually users reaching the basket summary page. So great progression there. We've actually got them to add to basket, and then they've gone and completed their journey. And then a big uplift in overall transaction of 2%, just to actually show the delivery and turns information higher up and just quicker in the journey without actually making the user look for it.
Yeah, and this were on the back of some user feedback where customers visited the product page and they said, do you do returns? Do you offer click and collect? And it's crazy that they had to select a size before that was presented. I think it is a restriction of our back office. It's something that they are working on, but we have found a way through using the tool and Rio to get this presented on page land. So obviously customers coming from Google Shopping, when they land on this page and they see free returns, it might help keeping them on site longer. And obviously, like Hayley said, with the design, it's quite wireframey, to put it nicely, the design on the left. So we wanted it a little bit more modern, and it also is quite deep, is that content. So on the right-hand side, you can see by putting the icons there and kind of reducing the padding between, it allows us to bring up "We think you'll love" higher up the page as well.
Yeah, brilliant. So one that we've done, which I think has always been a really interesting one for Redoute as well, just because of the high direct PDP lands. So we wanted to look at reducing the bounce rate here, and can we increase the amount of users going on to view another PDP and reduce the bounce rate? So what the test here was, basically they land on the site and they're shown similar items. So this was for only users that actually landed on a PDP. So can we show them something else? So yeah, it didn't cover any content. It was like positioned above the product image, but they could easily just scroll through and see if there was anything else that they might like. So they were able to close this as well. We tested different variations where it was closed by default, which you can see on the left, or open as they landed, which the open on the landed was definitely the winner here, and allowing the user to just close and open when needed. So in terms of the overall transactional uplift was around 0.2%, but the uplift in revenue was around 3%, so a really big number there. And the actual reduction in bounce rate was 7%, so big number there. And obviously that is one of the goals for Redoute, to try and reduce that PDP bounce rate. So trying to look at how can we offer the user something else. That was definitely key with this one.
Definitely. And also on this one as well, I mean, I think we've all been there and done it. You know, when you go on Google and you go on the shopping page and you see the images, the thumbnails are so small and you might think, I really like that. But then when you click through to the product page, it could have some detail on it, or it's not in your size. And then you end up just leaving the site. So it's all about capturing those who were interested but didn't continue because of some detail or stock issue, etc. I think the thumbnail images are getting smaller on Google, and I think that's why bounce rates are increasing, across all sites. So it's important that, at this point we give them other options to look at.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks, Laura. So yeah, what's next? So we're obviously looking at increasing the amount of PDP testing we're doing with the PDP redesign coming up. So one that we're also looking at is similar items across the PDP. So currently on Redoute's PDP, you get either shop the look, which you can see on the right, or a why not try, which is similar to that screenshot at the bottom. But what you see within the control is a why not try, which doesn't really represent the product that the user might be looking at. So you can see here, they're looking at trench coats. The why not try showed them all different coats, like puffer jackets, longer jackets, maybe short bomber jackets, things like that. Whereas if they're looking for a trench coat, a trench coat. So the test here, which is currently live at the moment, is to actually embed the true similar items below the product image. So again, we're looking to reduce that bounce rate, that exit rate here, and get them into other PDPs and products that they might prefer to the product that they're currently viewing. And at the moment it's performing well, isn't it? But we'll see.
Yeah, it's doing well so far. I think the key thing is like the algorithm is different here, just to clarify it. So on similar items, it's looking visually at that coat and matching visually on that product. Whereas the existing one we have with our recommendation tool is saying it's a trench coat, and it could pull back a black one, it could pull back a blue one. Whereas this is looking at the picture and trying to match on the picture. So yeah, I think this is going to be a good win. I think I've got all hopes for this one.
And then we're also looking at the messaging across Redoute's site as well. So this is across PLP and PDP. We have done some other testing around the placement of the promo messaging as well, and something that will go on to the PDP. But this one, again, is just highlighting the sale that Redoute have. So this is their Easter sale. So control, all of the copy is in black. So where you can see the 40%, the price in red. And again, on that PLP, everything was just in black across both PLP and PDP. So we're looking to try and increase that PDP progression and then increase that add to basket. So just looking at how we present this messaging when we go into that redesign. And again, this is something that we're looking at now. So no results as of yet, but imagine it's going to be a good one. And then Laura, I don't know if you want to go through any of these, but this is just other A/B tests that we're looking at. So looking at the size, so looking at that layout. So currently it flies out from the right-hand side. Do we want to bring it in page? So drop down versus in page. And looking at that color section as well? Can we expose it more on the page? So we're really trying to focus on key elements in the PDP to just try and inform that redesign.
Yeah, we're just like looking at obviously module testing on the page. So if the page has got 12 elements that users can engage with, we're testing one thing at a time, getting the wins, and then that will ultimately feed a new wireframe, which will be all the wins. And then we can actually attribute a value to that page total based on all the small incremental wins throughout the page. So it's going to be a lot of testing. But the hope is that when we put that live, we don't have to think, oh, why is it not performing as well? It could be anything, because we've launched the whole page with all those elements at once without any insights. So the hope is to kind of be really confident when we do push that live, that we've made the right decision and we can attribute the wins to each section.
Definitely. And then this just next steps. I think, Laura, if you want to just run through this, just in terms of what other things we'll be looking at as well as the testing.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, we're looking at integrating GA4, and we've got Power BI in-house, which is amazing. So we're looking at ways we can do some reporting just to get kind of like a secondary validation on the data check. I think obviously A/B tasters checking points are at different points. It might be buttons, whereas Adobe's on a URL. But I just think it's good for us to be able to validate the data and to be 100% sure of the results that we're talking about. So that's been integrated. You might have seen on some of the screenshots, we've got a new feedback button launched on site, which is voice of customer. And this has been amazing. So we've had some really rich content from feedback. I mean, the customers are blunt, to put it lightly, but it's amazing because it allows us, because it's integrated with replay, we can see the customer's concern, like why are there no measurements on this mirror, for example, and we can watch the session and then we can see where the scroll to, and actually we can see in some scenarios they've missed it. It wasn't prominent enough. So this is all helping us feed the A/B test plan with A/B tasting. So it's just another source of insights. And then also create tagging documentation on the click behavior in Adobe and A/B tasting. So it's just to make sure that we can get all the data, all the insights, so that we can make sure we prioritize our time effectively. And obviously test. And we want to make sure that we're always testing and keeping up with the same velocity of testing, and sharing this insights with the development team. So yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Laura.
No worries.
And then I think that is it. That brings us to the end of the webinar.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thanks, Hayley and Laura. You went through an awful lot of stuff there, and I know, like, from other clients that I speak to, a lot of relevant things that they're also facing at the same time. So it's really super interesting to hear you explain it. Just to kind of go back to the beginning, and Laura, you mentioned like it was a big revamp. It's not like it's just a few changes here and there. It's kind of a radical redesign that you guys have done. What were, and you said it's coming from the French office, but I'm just intrigued in really what your main priorities were for the redesign, and then how that sort of led you to focus on where you focused.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the redesign was done on the back of Redoute in France. We've been established for a long time, longer than Marks and Spencer's, and with them, been up and running for a long time. But we were typically known as Redoute, a catalogue company, and it was a long time ago, and we still get asked, "Oh my God, that catalogue company." So we wanted to kind of give the site like a facelift and bring it up to date, and we thought doing something radical like that would do that. The French team took lots of inspiration from big retailers, and a lot of thought was done into it, and overall I think it was really good. But our concerns were for our existing customers who are very loyal to us. We have a credit database of customers. Our concern was that it might be too radical, and we put a message to say this is our new site, kind of like, don't think it's been taken over or anything or hacked. So we just wanted to make sure that as soon as it was launched, customers were able to find the categories as they did before, and search search for products efficiently, and make sure there was no impact to those customers really. But the long-term win was obviously to kind of appeal to a younger customer as well who want to, keep up with the times. And I think it has done that, and it's brought a younger audience onto our website as well. So we wanted to make sure we met both objectives.
And how was how did you organize that in terms of teams and in terms of what testing you did?
So do you mean with regards to testing the homepage and the redesign?
Yeah.
We just prioritized it based on, so obviously once the site launched, we then looked at the data to understand how customers are, going through the website before the redesign and after, and looked at any fluctuations. And one of the things that we saw straight away was search was suddenly interacted with a lot more than before. And that gave us an indication that they're probably not finding it on the navigation. Maybe it's too big, maybe it's not clear. So the data kind of always dictates where we look. And once we look, that we don't know what we're going to test at the time. We just look at what's happening. And then once we know what's happening, we'll then do some shopping tasks and test on the back of the insights from what customers give us feedback on and what we could improve on the site.
Okay. And again, like those early, the ones you did about those tests you did do on search, when you look at sometimes the revenue that's generated when you've changed certain things, it's really, I mean, they're absolutely amazing figures to see.
Yeah, they're amazing. Yeah, they are really good. Yeah,
really fascinating. And then of course the other thing that you guys are both speaking about is something that all of our other e-commerce customers talk about, which is basically people going to the PDP rather than the home page, right? And this is the main page that everyone has to focus on. And I know that like some of those tests, as you showed at the end, they're ongoing. We haven't got the results, or it's an area that you've just started focusing on and so on. Maybe I could more kind of general question for you both as you both do this. What do you consider to be a perfect product page, or what do you consider to be the perfect elements for it?
For me, it has to be ideally under 4 or 5 scrolls maximum. We've learned that from a big competitor shopping that we did. So it needs to be that customers aren't scrolling forever and missing out on key information. It has to be full of customer reviews. Reviews are so important. And actually on a user study, it was 100% like the most important factor. So customer reviews and ratings needs to be at the top. Customer photos, even better. So it seems like user-generated content is driving conversion across the site. And also recommending similar products to what the customer's looking at has to be high up there, especially because, like I say, on Google, the images are so small that a lot of people leave because they didn't see the detail. So they're like the key things for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then I think in terms of when they're trying to, add to basket, is all about not hiding anything to the user, expose everything. So that's why we're looking at that size flyout. Can we add it into the page? Don't give the user more tasks to do when they're landing on that PDP. Show them everything they want, just like the returns and delivery information. Show them what they want to see so they can just simply select their size and add to basket. Want to make it as seamless as possible. So I think all of these aspects are very important. But then again, what is their shopping task? What are they there to do? And just make that a lot easier.
Yeah, agree.
Fantastic. Well, listen, really appreciate all the different insights you've both given us today. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for showing us all those details. If anybody wants to get in touch with us or has specific questions to send through afterwards to either Laura or Hayley, you can do that by sending mail through, and with the replay I'll give you AB Tasty's contact details, and we can pass those questions on if you like. As we are within a whole series of webinars, we are also looking at consumer trends in the next webinar that we're doing, which is in 2 weeks' time. It's called Nailing the Digital Experience. It's with Full Story, it's with us, and it's with Zion and Zion. So we will send you links also where you can sign up for that one. But in the meantime, another huge thanks to Hayley from Rio and Laura from Redoute. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next webinar.